Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you from the beautiful Cedar Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on. And later on is when the roundtable shows up and we'll get into all sorts of controversial topics with them, so hope you'll stay tuned for that. Hope you'll be here for the whole half hour because we have a lot of great guests, important information coming your way. But where we want to start is talking about wellness grants. I want to understand more about them, and to do that, I brought on someone who's been with us before, and we love to have her here. Sorian Schmidt is Senior Program Officer of Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Remind us, before we get into wellness grants, just remind us quickly what the mission of Z. Smith Reynolds is.
Sure. Well, Z. Smith Reynolds is an 86-year-old private statewide family foundation, and we've invested about $600 million in the state, all across the state. The mission of the organization is to improve the lives of all North Carolinians, and we also have a particular interest and focus on our home, which is Winston-Salem in Forsyth County.
Right. Now let's talk about these wellness grants. Your trustees recently awarded a number of these wellness grants. And my first question is, what is a wellness grant?
Well, right. This was something a little bit new for us, and we were really hearing from our grantees about how challenging the last 2.5 years really have been.
Because of the pandemic, yeah.
Yes, both the pandemic and the increased focus on racial inequities and events happening around that have caused a lot of new demands on nonprofits in community working to address needs like hunger and housing and things like that. And so we wanted to just support them as they continue to try to meet those needs.
Now, how much money has been awarded, and how did you decide who gets it?
Right. So we had looked at and heard from a lot of our grantees. The Board of Trustees in the end awarded almost $500,000 to about 60 of our smaller grantees. And we really focused on them because they have less flexibility in their budget to make all the adaptations that they've needed to make and to just meet the increased demands.
Now, you've already answered this, I know, but specifically, because there's so many different organizations that can help with this type of mission, the foundation specifically, why did you feel like there was a need for you to jump in?
Well, we have a long-time relationship with many nonprofits that work throughout the state in local communities to help people with all sorts of needs, whether it's how to vote, whether it's domestic violence assistance, or getting more food. And so what we saw over the last 2.5 years was they just really were stepping up to the plate in spite of lots of personal risk for them to get COVID. They were not only doing their normal job, but they were adding tasks such as bringing PPE, the protective gear to people, or teaching them about COVID, or translating COVID information into Spanish. And so this has been a super demanding period for everybody, but for many of our grantees, there also were increased demand for their services or whole new services that they took on so that they could do the work and serve the communities where they work.
So the grant money, if it goes to, say, an organization who's doing some of the things you mentioned, will they just say, okay, thanks, this will help us continue to do what you're doing, or will you say, no, wait a minute, we have a couple specific things we want you to do with the money? How does that work?
We are not dictating what they do with the money, but we are saying this is for improving the wellness of your organization or your staff. So they could use those funds for a gym membership for staff, for mental health services, for some kind of a retreat or group building, or even to improve their maybe hybrid now work situation. Whatever they need, they know best what their own staff needs, but we want them to use it for wellness purposes.
And there are a lot of organizations that do great work in this line that you're talking about. Are you just awarding to all grantees?
We really focused on these smaller groups because a lot of the larger funded groups had more flexibility in their budget to make these kind of shifts, and the small ones just don't have the budget for it, but are often right on the ground, immediately impacted when the COVID came about.
Absolutely. Up on screen, I want to give this information, www.zsr.org, standing, of course, for Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation, zsr.org, where you can get more information about this topic that Sorian is talking about. And I'm so proud of what you're doing and thankful for what you're doing to help out and even helping those who help people. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, and we hope other philanthropy join us, and we're just proud of the nonprofit sector.
Thanks, Sorian.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, let's talk about hospitality. And in what regard, you might ask? This gentleman's going to clear it up for us because he does so much for and around the community. We're with Joseph Carell. He's managing partner of Mayfair Hospitality Group. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, the thing I'm thinking about here is the pandemic. Everybody says, well, we're tired of talking about the pandemic, Jim. But how did the pandemic impact the hospitality industry, hotels, restaurant, bars?
Well, it impacted it very significantly. In March of 2020, it basically took it down to zero almost. And so you not only were dealing with lost revenue, crippling businesses all across the world in hotel and restaurants, but also it just forced massive staff layoffs.
Right.
And so it was certainly a worldwide crisis. And I believe that hospitality at that time was probably hit as hard as anybody.
Took the brunt of it. Would you say that we are back to normal?
I think we're getting there, Jim. Normal is it's a new normal, but I think that there is so much pent up demand. Human beings by nature, hospitality comes natural to humans. It's been one of the largest industries tourism has been in the U.S.
We want to travel, we want to see things, we want to go out to eat.
We want to interact is the
Yeah.
bottom line.
Yeah.
And so I think that
Well, I don't. This is my only interaction here. No, I've been hearing something about, and in fact, you emailed me one day and said, we want to talk about roar. I said, what the heck are you talking about? What is roar?
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking, Jim. So Roar is an entertainment center and destination that consists of duck pin bowling, full swing sports simulators, 2 restaurants, 5 bars. It has Piedmont Federal Bank has an office in there, but Roar as an entertainment destination is something that we feel is something for everybody, and it brings something to the Triad that we feel is an amenity that the city and the county has been begging for.
And you know about this is in, where in Winston-Salem is this?
It is in between the Arts District and Innovation Quarter on the corner of Liberty and 7th Street. It's in the old Twin City Motor Building at 633 Liberty.
Now, I was trying to, in my forgetful self, I'm trying to think about all these things that you were talking about that are included in it, so I can go in, and now can I hear music? Can I get some snacks? I mean, what's
Absolutely. So when you enter off of Liberty Street, you come in and we have Est Restaurant on the right, and that's a Italian restaurant with a big, beautiful brick oven, showcase pizza oven. You walk straight ahead into Ford's Food Hall, and there it's a gourmet food hall with an eccentric blend of food from around the world. And there's a stage there, and we do have music there, no cover charge every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
I just think this is great. And just as a disclaimer, I want to tell folks, Joseph didn't pay to come on and say these things. I'm just interested because it's really a success story. I mean, how did you come up with this concept to do all this stuff in one place?
Well, so I have to credit our developer, Simon Burgess, who's our principal investor and developer. He is the genius behind the architectural design of Roar. It's a 1928 building that came with its fair share of obstacles to develop.
Yeah, that was the Roaring 20s, so that's
that's part of the whole concept is we're coming back into the Roaring 20s. And, right before COVID hit, the economy was sure looking like the Roaring 20s again, and now we're hoping that everything is coming back to life. It's going to continue that way.
And what you're doing, I know, is going to enhance the overall economy, and that's important, I think, too. Up on screen, roarws.com is where you can find out more information about Roar specifically. And also thanks and a shout out to Rich and Marquita and everybody, the good folks at Visit Winston-Salem who handle all the tourism events and promotion for us. VisitWinstonSalem.com is their website. Joseph, thanks for doing this.
No, it's my pleasure, Jim. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and we have a return visitor to the program, and always glad when she can drop by. We're talking about, of course, Dr. Paula Gankowitz. She's a podiatric surgeon with Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist, Lexington Medical Center, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Give us a quick definition of what a podiatrist would specialize in.
Sure. A podiatrist is a is a specialist of the foot and ankle, or a podiatric surgeon like myself, deals with all the problems and diagnosing, treating, and managing all the problems that occur with the foot and ankle.
Now, you guys as a corporation have great doctors all throughout the system, sports med doctors and primary care physicians in the network and that kind of thing. But if I have a specific foot problem, why is it better perhaps that I go to someone like you?
That's a great question. In this digital age, patients are inundated with a lot of information. You have everything you could possibly need at your fingertips, whether you want it or not. And then we're also in an era of medicine that's very specialized. So there's specialties and then there's subspecialties within that. So it can be very confusing as a patient. I would say the first and best place to start off with if you're confused is probably talking to your primary care doctor or your primary care physician. They can direct you or guide you. In terms of a podiatrist, we deal with a wide array of different problems. So they can range from skin conditions like ingrown toenails or warts, and they can also deal with acute problems. Those could be sudden onset issues like a trauma or a bad infection in a diabetic patient. Those may require surgery or a procedure right away, and we don't want to delay in treatment. That's the one thing I'd want your viewers to understand. In addition to that, there's chronic issues like ongoing problems, nagging problems that are due to an underlying deformity. So,
Yeah, you mentioned some of these conditions. One thing we hear a lot about is plantar fasciitis.
yes.
So help me with that. Several questions. First, what is it and how does it occur?
Sure. So plantar fasciitis is a problem that occurs on the bottom of the foot. It generally presents as bottom of the heel pain or pain in the plantar arch. This can be caused for a number of reasons. So it could be due to an underlying flat foot deformity. It could be an overuse injury. In the wake and age of COVID, patients are working virtually and they're off their feet a lot. So they could have a weight gain that could contribute to their discomfort too.
Wow. Now, what can we do to prevent that particular condition, and how do you treat it once it's onset?
Sure. So ways to treat it, I guess we'll start off with, is when you're dealing with that discomfort, stretching exercises can be extremely beneficial. Stretching out the Achilles tendon and working on making sure that you have the mobility that you need. That can minimize the discomfort on the bottom of the heel.
Right.
Orthotics or good arch supports in the shoe can be helpful. And then also having good shoe gear. Any shoe that I can take and really twist around is probably comfortable but not necessarily supportive.
Well, that's true. You know, you talk about bedroom slippers or comfortable loafers or something, but they're not giving you that support.
Absolutely.
And so now, are you? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are you saying that if I have that condition or I'm bothered by something in the pain in the heel, I can sometimes just switch to a better shoe with more support, and it's going to sort of dissipate?
It may. In the wake and times of COVID, we're walking around barefoot a lot. So you can imagine your foot is always flattened out significantly.
Right.
So having a good arch support, switching up your shoes a little bit, doing all these things can really address the mechanical issues that are going on.
But you're also saying that weight gain, and I want to point right here, weight gain can exacerbate it though, right?
It definitely can. Your foot and ankle is a very important part of the body because it carries everything else. So if we're carrying around an extra 20, 30 pounds, then we're going to see that present in our feet.
All right, I want to put something up on screen. Now, the general website is wakehealth.edu. That gets you everywhere. But specifically, if you'd like to make an appointment to talk about the issues we were mentioning, 713-FOOT. That's easy to remember, 713-FOOT. And Paul, I appreciate you coming by.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and just about time to welcome Mr. Theater, who is back from surgery, successful, I might add, and it's good to see Dave Briggs, director of High Point Theater. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Jim. The knee surgery went very well. Thank you.
Good, good. I'll try not to hit it or anything
Thank
like
you. I
that during
appreciate
the. Hey, before we talk about upcoming events, I don't want to concentrate on something negative, but you know, COVID is still around, so I'm just wondering, can you give us an update, and maybe on behalf of all theaters, I don't know, but give us an update on what the protocols now are, how audience should be, or what they should wear or not wear to be safe, or mask or not mask. What's going on?
Well, we want audiences to be comfortable. So if you're comfortable wearing a mask, wear a mask. There are a few shows, not that we are presenting particularly, but the shows that are Broadway shows, a lot of those still require that audiences wear masks. There are still a few artists that are requiring that audiences wear masks.
They have their own protocol.
They have their own protocol, and they help set that, usually with the venue particularly. High Point Theater, we're basically wide open, but we want people to be, we want them to be happy, we want them to be safe and feel safe. And like I said, if you want to wear a mask, you can certainly wear a mask. If you don't feel comfortable coming out in public, don't come out in public.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's a personal choice.
Well, some people do that even in flu season. I mean,
yeah.
you just have to make your own choice.
That's
what you wanna
right.
do. But anyway, okay, well, that clears that up. When you were under the knife, as it were, with your surgery, and we were all pulling for you, of course, Rokia Worthy stopped by, and she gave us some updates on things. Now, one of the things that I spoke with her about then, which I guess was a month ago now, was looking back on the past theater season and sort of a set. I'd like to get your take on that too. How was it? Because seasons go from like what month to what month?
Well, our season usually is really August or September through April, May, depending on what shows I can get, how we can afford to kind of cram everything in there
Right.
with all the other rental events that we have. Last year was an interesting year, of course, because we were starting to open up from COVID. We had a few shows in the very beginning of the year where masks were certainly required. Staff always wore masks, and for the most part, they sold pretty well. Our Christmas season went very well.
Right.
January was fine. We kind of slowed down a little bit in March. April picked up a little bit, but overall we had more shows that made contract that didn't make contract, which from the business perspective is very good.
Yeah, especially during that period
Yeah,
you're
that's
coming out of. A lot of people may not know that High Point Theater is home to the Miss North Carolina pageant, and that's coming up June 23rd through the 25th. Tell me about that.
That's right. Now, we stole the Miss North Carolina pageant from Raleigh a few years ago, and I'm delighted to say that we did that.
Yeah.
That's because they needed a home. They needed a place that wasn't as expensive as all the venues in Raleigh. So we host not only the Miss North Carolina Miss America pageant, but also the Miss Outstanding Teen pageant.
Okay.
So there are two pageants going on. So I think there are 4 specific events. There are 2 sets of preliminaries and then the 2 finals on Saturday. And we crown the Miss Outstanding Teen North Carolina and the Miss North Carolina.
I'll get to ticketing later on, but just while I'm thinking about this, is that something that people can come in for free, or they still have to buy a ticket?
No, it's very much a ticketed event, and
Okay.
they need to get in early as they can. At one point, the Miss NC pageant was only doing packages, so you had to buy the whole package. I think at this point you can also buy just the preliminaries or just the finals.
Okay, before we run out of time, just a quick thing. First Lady, Saturday, July 9th.
First Lady, we think this is the world premiere of this particular show. It is about domestic violence. So we're excited to have it. It'll be the first time on our stage and perhaps the first time ever mounted.
The Beatles show, Friday, July 29th.
Yesterday is the Beatles. They're one of the best Beatles cover bands ever. They're based in Las Vegas. I presented them a couple of times before I came to High Point. They've been at High Point Theater before.
They are great. I know what we're talking about. Emma Langford, quickly, Saturday, August 13th.
Emma Langford is just this peach voice from Ireland. She is brand new. This will be her second visit to the United States. I was instrumental in getting her an agent here in the U.S. to help her out. She's doing a couple of festivals and a couple of other shows. Think Judy Collins and Janice Ian. I mean, she is just a spectacular
She's
woman.
great. Up on screen, highpointtheater.com is the website for more information, more detail. If you want tickets, the easiest way to do that, 336-887-3001. And you're going to stick around for the roundtable?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thanks. We'll be right back after this. On Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to our good friends here at the Cedar Botanical Garden in downtown Kernersville. Hope you'll check out their website. More importantly, check them out. Come on out to the garden, lots to see. You can also rent the big facility. You can't see it right now. We're not going to, it's secret. We won't show you that. But it's a huge place. You can rent that for weddings, receptions, and everything. Have fun. We're going to have fun here too. First, let me just give a shout out to our good pal, Ogie, who is under the weather, but we have the distinguished gentleman to fill in for him, David Daggett, attorney with Daggett Schuler. Thanks for being here to fill in for Ogie.
Yes, you were going to have a hat and a tie for me?
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna, we have to dress you as Ogie the next time you fill in for him. Dave Briggs has been held over from the High Point Theater segment. We appreciate that. Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, the Southern Baptist Convention is finally releasing a secret list, quote unquote secret list, of hundreds of pastors and other church officials who had been accused of sexually abusing children. Some of the accused have ties to the Triad. Guilford County's one example. Church officials say those involved in the cover-up might lose their pensions. Guys, is that punishment enough, or should it be a federal crime to withhold names of accused abusers? Dave?
Well, the story is just atrocious. It's terrible. Yes, there should be penalties for this type of activity. It's criminal, and not reporting it, that's complicit in it, and there should be a price to pay.
Dave Briggs.
I don't have anything to add more than what David said. This is evil. This whole story, whether it's the Southern Baptist Church or the Catholics or the
Anything.
whatever, that's just terrible.
Keith, they said we might revoke their pensions.
I mean, think about what you just said. Their pension, they have people who sexually abuse people and
Or
they're not
covered
in
it up,
jail and
covered
covered
it
it up. That's the same thing when someone does a crime and somebody's with them. Are they implicit in that crime?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know. The North Carolina Senate has introduced a bill that will require parents' permission for a 17-year-old to give blood. Are you guys okay with this, or should a 17-year-old be allowed to give blood without parental consent? David Daggett.
I am a huge believer in giving blood and have done so for more than 40 years. Yes, I think if you're a minor, there ought to be parental consent, just like there are for other medical procedures. A lot of the blood drives are done in peer pressure environments where the individual student or minor can't fully apprise their own health situation and whether that's appropriate. The Red Cross and everybody else, they do a wonderful job and they're very, very safe, but they don't know the individual health
kid.
records. So yes, I think so.
Dave, you've had some experience with this.
Yeah, my daughter asked our permission to give blood when she was 16 years old and has been doing so. I think it's a good thing to ask permission of the parent.
Keith.
I think it's a good thing to ask permission, absolutely.
All right. Meanwhile, the Senate, North Carolina Senate, is considering a bill that would allow anyone over age 21 to possess a, quote, small amount of marijuana. North Carolina is currently one of only 6 states where all uses of marijuana is illegal. So, would you like to see this new law pass, and will it pass? David.
I'm a little scared to answer because Keith has agreed with me twice so far.
That's right.
Well, the blood one was simple.
I think this is an issue that's coming, whether I personally like it or not. It is coming. If it's coming, we need to put in appropriate regulations and standards in order to monitor it to make sure it doesn't get out of control.
Age 21, you can have a small amount of marijuana. Will it pass?
Will it pass? I believe it will.
Really?
I do, yeah. The current legislation that we saw this past week, I think it's likely to go through.
Keith.
Well, you said that. Did you say that at 21 you should have a small
amount of marijuana?
I think most of them have more than a small. But I think it's going to be very difficult to pass. But because of the conservatism of this state, I think it's going to be a very difficult pass.
All right, Walmart came under fire last week because the giant retailer was selling Juneteenth ice cream and profiting from it. Walmart since pulled the product from the stores and apologized. First of all, guys, do you have a problem with selling ice cream to commemorate the end of slavery? David.
I think this probably came out of a marketing department, and they thought it was a good idea, and there might have even been good intentions. Unfortunately, it came off a little like it was pandering,
Sleazy
and sleazy and not appropriate.
Dave Briggs.
I have to agree with that. I really didn't have a problem with it, but I have no idea. Do they sell 4th of July ice cream or do they sell George Washington ice cream?
Keith, were you comfortable with them
I have a
selling?
major problem with that. That's why you should diversify departments. Because number one, when people do things like that means that someone's in there who's not sensitive. And Walmart makes billions of dollars. They should be giving money out without ice cream to UNCF and various other programs.
Yeah, because they made some profits from that, so they should give the profits away.
Yeah, they should give the profit, but I don't think ice cream is the answer. Ice cream, really?
Juneteenth ice cream.
Juneteenth ice cream.
And I think it was vanilla to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of
See.
strange.
Not even chocolate.
Yeah, I know it.
It's just wrong. It's just wrong.
No, I know. There's something wrong with Walmart, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, rocky roads or nothing. It's
Yeah.
wrong.
All right. So, and thanks for that commentary,
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
way.
absolutely.
That's right. All right.
Monologue.
Yeah. Finally, guys, wedding season is upon us, and according to WeddingWire.com, you should spend at least $50 on a wedding gift for an acquaintance, but $200 on a gift for a good friend. Guys, how many good friends do you have, and did you buy them a $200 wedding gift? David Daggett.
I don't want to tell who I bought what for because I'm going to get in trouble. So the answer to, I don't know how many questions were there, were yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah, okay. Dave Briggs, how many close friends do you have?
Most of my friends have been married for 35 years or more. I haven't bought a wedding gift in I don't know how long.
Keith.
My friends are asking me to give them $200 to get divorced.
Oh, man.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, friends. They're happily married. I got a lot of friends that I can give $200 to.
Yeah,
That was
that's
a
right.
joke.
And you can even rent, the facility here for a divorce party. I
That's
think.
right.
All
And eat
well,
some
that's all-
Rocky Road's ice cream with it, too.
Rocky Road.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Recently at an airport in India, I think it was the New Delhi airport, a man was arrested for smuggling gold. And you said, well, that's not a big news story, anything, smuggling gold. But this guy smuggled 2 pounds of gold and hid it in his, how do I want to say this, backside, if that, okay. Anyway, it was discovered when the security agent did a full body cavity search. And appropriately, the agent's new nickname is Goldfinger. You understand that? All right, for all of us here, we're going out for some Rocky Road ice cream.